You're on.
Of the original Science of Mind, period. I'm recording the textbook, so I want to say textbook right after Science of Mind. So take a deep breath. We always begin everything with spiritual mind treatment. And the work is done in mind. And so we know that there is only one, whatever we call it, is just a word. There is an infinite, absolute presence of life and love, of light. This one presence is all that there is. In that, everything is created out of it. It has become that which it created. It encompasses universe layers and life and so much more. It goes beyond the realm of word. And since there is only one, then we know that each one of us is created out of that oneness. We are manifested out of Spirit itself. We are individualizations of the divine presence. It lives and moves and has its being by means of us. And so we open to that idea that there is that within us that is greater than we can even imagine. Just breathe that in for a moment. We have a body, but we're not our body. We have emotions, but we're not our emotions. We have thoughts, but we're not our thoughts. We have things, but we are not our things. We are so much more. We are one with all that is. And like the wave has the same qualities as the ocean, then whatever God is, we are. So right here and right now, we claim and affirm that eternal truth, that we are healthy, we are wealthy, we are wise, we are loved and loving, we are successful, we are creative. That is the truth of us and cannot be tarnished or taken away. And so we move into that awareness that says our lives are blessed. We always have more than enough. We always know what to do and when to do it. We are divinely guided and directed. We are infinitely creative, and our lives reflect that which we direct them to reflect. Wow, the power is in our hands. And that takes me to a state of thanksgiving. I am so grateful to be a powerful, creative, spiritual being alive and well on planet Earth. I am so grateful to be an individualization of the divine, a being of light and love. And in that sense of gratitude, we just turn this loose because we know we have set spiritual law in motion. And the only thing that life can do is take what is directed, create it, and collapse it into form as our lives. And together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Come on in, everybody. I don't know. That's the problem with having one sound person. If he doesn't show, I'm yelling at you. So anyone who wants to see David and sign up for a training with the sound system of this center, you are welcome to participate. Now, is anybody hot? Because I cranked the heat up.
Yay.
Okay, well, so, we have lessons in this textbook. And the very first lesson talked about the absolute, the infinite, whatever spirit is, and how the manifestation process works on a universal level. It used really big words. It was omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. It is eternal. It is absolute. It is infinite. Really big words to talk about a really big concept. And then, as of last week, we moved into the second lesson, which is all about us. And what it says is that the infinite is the macro, the big, the macrocosm. And because we are created out of that creative essence of spirit, we are what? The microcosm. But the same way that whatever is in the ocean is in the drop, and that Rumi would say the ocean itself is in the drop is not in the ocean, and quantum physics would support that concept, but I don't want to go off on a tangent right away. Then whatever is true of spirit is true of us. And so that same creative process reenacts itself by means of us. But instead of creating universes, we're creating our lives. We're creating the people in our lives, the circumstances in our lives, the situations in our lives. And this reading talks all about the subjective race consciousness. It infers as to belief systems and hidden beliefs and all of that good stuff when we look at our lives and go, WTF, why is this happening to me again? Why is this happening over and over and over again? Well, because there is something inside of us that even if we don't know it consciously, is setting spiritual law in motion and creating circumstances in our lives. Have you ever been in more than one relationship?
Same time?
That was my question, yeah.
No, but that's an interesting aspect of it. Did you notice that often those additional relationships started to feel just like the one before it? And if I had you in therapy, we'd go back to probably it was your father or your mother or something like that you were acting out that same relationship over and over again. If you had a wounded inner child, then you would be unloved or unappreciated, or you would have that same feeling of not getting your needs met that you had as a child. And we recreate those circumstances because they are in our subjective mind, not unconscious. Our subjective mind, they are planted like seeds in the earth, and sure enough, they will spring forth to where we have, divorce number 1, divorce number 2, divorce number 3, divorce number 4, all of that stuff, always saying, I've been here before, I've done this before, I've had this same job, but it was at a different company with different people. I've had this same financial experience. That's why when people win the lottery, they end up going back to their mental norm, their mental equivalent of prosperity, even though they had a big peak. Unless they change, they won't keep it. So what is in this lesson is alluded to hidden beliefs and race consciousness and a lot of stuff that may be going on inside of us that we don't really know about, but we can find out about by looking at the circumstances in our lives. If we have reoccurring experiences, it's because we have that inside of us. Now, it can be a reoccurring experience that's really great. It can be that lemons always turn to lemonade for me. I'm really lucky. Everything always works out for me. And that can be something that comes from a belief system inside of us that acts out over and over and over again. And then next week, if we get to it, and this lesson was really big, right? There was a lot of stuff in this lesson. So next week, we're going to jump into the chapter on healing. And what I love about the way that Ernest originally laid out science of mind and spirit is that it's a logical argument. And it takes us all the way to a complete understanding. So we start off with this idea of what is spirit, what is the divine. If you want to use the 3-letter word, what is God, what is that? And then if that is so, that must be what I am. It must be what I am. Remember, in order for an infinite to exist, it must exist in its totality at every point simultaneously. That's a big idea. That means that the entire presence of the divine exists at the point of view every second, all of it, not just a little bit. You're not a part of God. You're not, well, I'm just mere human. No, you are God itself. You are the creation of the universe. You are that which created all of this. And so if that is so, then I must be doing that in my life too. The very presence that I'm alive, that we are here, states that we are manifesting our lives. So since we're manifesting our lives, let's check it out. Let's check out what it is we're doing. If we like it, great, let's keep on. If we're ready to change some things, then we can work on the outside all we want. And if we don't change the inside, we're going to simply recreate what is on the outside. Have you ever done a geographical cure?
Oh, God.
I did.
Oh,
I
yeah.
moved 3,000 miles. Took my 3-year-old son, moved 3,000 miles. Inside of 2 weeks, I had lost every penny I had, been in a major car accident where one of my friends died, the other one was in the hospital, and as soon as she got out, she flew back to Florida and left me all alone, penniless, jobless, carless. Wow, I've felt this way before. It took me 2 weeks. Barbara's powerful. 2 weeks to go from a geographical cure to having everything be exactly the same that it was before, only now I'm in a place that I don't know anybody. So when we try to change on the outside, circumstances, conditions in our life, and don't change on the inside, then we just recreate over and over and over again the circumstances on the outside. That's why getting yet another job isn't going to help. That's why leaving that dirty, rotten racket fratchet isn't going to help. That what happens is we have to get the shift to go within. We have to effect a change on the inside so that then the outside comes into alignment with that and our life manifests. One of the phrases that was in the reading from last week that I love so much, and it's kind of our motto in Science of Mind, is to learn how to think is to learn how to live. It's not about working your fingers to the bone. It's not about trying to figure out how to work a deal with life. It's not about trying to con people or get ahead. It's to learn how to think is to learn how to live. And when you master your inner state, you will find that the circumstances outside of you shift. And the only place to work is within. Because what happens if you work on the outside and you don't realize that you're the one steering the ship? What happens? You recreate it over and over and over again. And I know for me, when I've done that, I've always been innocent. I didn't do that. That's the way life is. That's the way those people are. They did it to me. And so, by not being willing to accept responsibility for my circumstances, I locked myself into an endless creation and experience of those kinds of situations in my life, over and over and over and over and over again. So I love this chapter. How many people were here last week? Wasn't that great? Wasn't that a great class? I love this class. I love this chapter because it talks all about us. And as usual, we're going to start with our teaching symbol. And you notice that the teaching symbols in the book are not the same. They're different. Now we've got teaching symbol Roman numeral 2A and teaching symbol Roman numeral 2B. I like the 2B one. I like the metaphysical chart number 2B because it talks about all of the things that happen to us personally, and truly all of this wonderful, infinite, absolute spirit stuff is great, but I want to know how to make my life work. I want to know what am I doing to continue to create the circumstances in my life, and what can I do to shift them. So, here we have this lovely oval that depicts 3 aspects of spirit. It is not 3 different parts of spirit, it's just a way to wrap our head around it. And what we're looking at tonight is the individual view of it. So what do I have up here?
Spirit.
But what about with me? What would I have?
Consciousness.
Consciousness. What else?
Personality.
CONSCIOUSNESS. Big words. Personality.
Personality.
Spirit.
Beliefs, thoughts. Beliefs.
Choice.
There you go. Choice.
Oh, Lord.
Bliss. Okay, well look at that. We've got this idea of thoughts. We have this idea of beliefs. We have this idea of choice. Starts at the top of the circle. And the circle goes this way. That's why we're using it as a teaching symbol, just to give us a flow of creation. It could just as easily go from the bottom up, the inside out, the outside in, although I think I like the inside out better. But it's just a way to wrap our heads around this, that there is something that starts the flow in our lives. And this idea of choice and will is really important, because that is the only spot in the whole creative process where we can change what's happening. Once we set it in motion and the law takes it, it's going to show up. Unless we change it, we will have it. So if we're creating something that we really want, if we're open and loving and joy-filled and feeling prosperous and abundant and healed, whole and healthy, and we are just having this great experience, if you don't screw that up, it will manifest in your life. It will. Unless you go out in traffic and get mad, or get something from the bank and go into fear, or watch the news, or whatever it is people do to mess up that wonderful flow that they have. I mean, you come here, you go through like a whole Sunday celebration, and you get all just opened and full and loving, and I don't know what happens to people. I go home and watch football, and sometimes that gets me. But not yesterday, we had the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Panthers winning, but that's living in a competitive universe.
Packers.
I don't know about the Packers.
They won.
Good.
6-0.
Good, 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 good. So when I allow my preferences to get involved, then I start to lose all of that. There's only love and the treatment and the singing and the talk and all the people, and I leave here just so clear that I am an infinite God being, and all is well in planet Earth. Everything in my life is a blessing. The entire universe supports me, and all is well. And what I want to do is I want to hold on to that as long as possible, because that will manifest in my life. I want that to be the thoughts and the beliefs that I plant in the fertile soil of mine, so that life will take it and manifest it. And it doesn't matter how far-fetched it seems. It doesn't matter how many people think it's impossible. That will grow and manifest. It doesn't even matter if it's never happened before. You know, if we were stuck with only having things happen that have happened before, there would be no growth. There would be no evolution. There would be no change in life. We have to have the impossible possible in order for us to grow, in order for the universe to expand, in order for the species to evolve, in order for our lives to get better. We have to be able to have the impossible possible. So that's a given. The impossible is possible. If someone says, well, that's impossible, well, the impossible is possible. Huh? Yes. The impossible must be possible for us even to be here. I just thought that was brilliant. I just thought of that yesterday.
Does that mean that generally you feel as if, you can feel as if your life is a blessing until you pick a side or make a choice?
Sure, until you choose to feel like it's not a blessing. Ah, that's a wise noise. Oh, yeah. I mean, look at all your investment that you get, whether it's been therapy or meditation or body work or listening to CDs or coming here. You've invested all of this energy into yourself, and you've got a hold of something and you're on top of the world. And then we give it up so quickly. And what I want you to know is that your job is to hold on to that feeling. Hold on to that feeling. Hold on to that thought. Hold on to that idea, because what you're doing is you're planting your crop and you will have a harvest if you hold on to it. The same is true for the exact opposite. Somebody has a belief that there's not enough. There's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough opportunity. There's not enough. And then something wonderful happens. And they have this belief that says, no, there's not enough. I know it looks like there's enough right now, you know, but what is that Murphy's Law, that awful thing? If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. They have that belief that that's going to happen. And so no matter how great it is, people can come here. People can come here and absolutely get angry. It's fascinating to me. Fascinating. And a lot of times they'll target me or John, because people have to have kind of a place to point their anger. And they're angry that we would dangle the carrot of happiness when it is so impossible.
What do you mean it's the best day ever?
I know, what do you mean it's the best day ever? So they come into the same environment that someone else comes in, like you, and instead of being filled full to overflowing, uplifted, joyous, creative, they have a belief. They have a belief down that says, it's going to be a bad day. It's going to be a bad day. Something's going to happen. Something's going to fall apart. And even if they don't know that they believe that, it will fight with the happy day, the best day ever, that anything is possible, you're made out of love, love is what you are. Fight with that. And if you don't hold the thought up that says, no, my life is going to get better and I'm not giving into those old beliefs. If you don't do that, if you just think, well, I had one affirmation and that should hold me for the rest of my life, or I read one book or went to one class or whatever, and then you don't pay attention, those old beliefs will come and they will take away the new idea. One of the ways that it works chemically or physiologically is that idea that inside of your brain, the phrase is from Candace Pert, what fires together, wires together. So that the tendrils in your neurotransmitters, when you're thinking, they will actually grow together. The cells in your brain will actually attach to each other. And so it's easier then to think a thought over and 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 over, and then you just don't even know that you're thinking about it, and you subjectify that thought, you push it down to where it's a hidden belief now, you don't even know that you believe it, but you keep thinking it over and over and over again, and then someone says, no, you don't have to live that life. You can have life be the way that you want it. You can be happy. You can have a healing. You can have a demonstration. Your dreams can come true. Except you've got these brain cells wired together, glued, grown together. And so there has to be a point of effort on your part, a point of choice, where you begin to insist on thinking a different thought. And as you think a different thought, you get your little neurotransmitters flowing into whatever it's called, the spinal fluid that your brain floats around in, and they'll find something else to grow to. And then it's easy to go to the positive. You can tell people who have spent a lot of time training themselves to go to the positive. And you can tell people who go to the negative. If someone goes boo, and one person goes, oh, it's all lost, and another goes, wow, what? That's the difference. It happens before you know that you've thought a thought. So up here is really important because you've got your choice and you've got your will. What is will?
Your actions.
What comes before your actions?
Intention.
Thought.
Intention, it's before thought. Inspiration is an uplifting. What is your will? Anybody ever?
Your desire?
It manifests through your desires. Anybody ever started an exercise program?
Mm-hmm.
Let me rephrase that. Has anyone ever followed through an exercise program? The follow through comes from your will. It's not willpower. Is it hot in here?
Yeah.
Right in their brow.
I'm totally comfortable.
Well, that's what he does, takes you from cold to hot. So your will is what carries you through. It's like when you decide to get up and meditate in the morning, and you wake up and you go, oh, man, what was I thinking? Really? I have to get up half an hour early, an hour early to do this stuff? What gets you out of bed before you realize how valuable it is this idea of will. It's very connected with choice, and it allows you to make change in your life. So one of the things that happens with people in this center or this teaching is that there's a belief that all they have to do is think one thought and everything else will change. Now, I got to tell you that that is possible. If you can think that one thought so clearly that no other thought ever enters your awareness, then that will manifest. But most of us have millions of thoughts flying around our brain, and synaptic transmissions firing, and hidden beliefs, and all of this stuff that we're not even aware of. And so when we decide to change our mind, when we decide to change our thoughts, sometimes that choice has to be backed up by will, by intention, by commitment, by follow through. And that's not the pretty part. That's not the sexy part of science of mind. Sexy part of science of mind is money falling out of the sky, that when the diagnosis goes away, the x-rays change, they say it's a miracle that you healed this fast, Bob Horn, with your foot, you should still have 3 more weeks of healing, and you're all healed. That's great, I love that stuff. But that stuff doesn't just happen without some kind of a change occurring. Whatever it is that we put down in here, in law, in the subconscious, subjective, subject to. Subjective is subject to anything you give it. Whatever it is you put down there, you will end up having in here, in body. In the body of your affairs, the body of your finances, the body of your relationships, the body of your experiences, you will have that. And so an easy thing to do is to look down in the conditions of your life, the effects of your life, and go, what have I got? Do I have more than enough money than I need, than I want? Do I have an abundance to spare and to share? What have I got? Do I have a body that supports me and I feel great in and I get to do what I want to do? What kind of relationships do I have? Do I have relationships with people that love me and support me? When I choose to go on a path, do the doors open and the carpets rolled out? Do I have that? Because if I don't, then the place to start is up here. Up here. When people come to me and they go, oh, I'm in this relationship and they don't respect me, I'm obnoxious to come counsel them. I say when you respect yourself, other people will respect you. Well, my boss doesn't value me. Well, when you value yourself, you will be valued. So it all starts on the inside. It all starts, for this discussion, it all starts with thought. Now I know there's something before the thought, but I don't know how to talk about that. I know that there is something that happens because we are not physical beings, and the thought really is kind of a physical process. I'm talking about neurotransmitters and flashes and all of that stuff. There is something that happens, but I don't know how to talk about that. So we'll talk about it starts at a thought. It starts at a thought, starts at a feeling, starts at a choice, starts at a decision. It starts with something happening in our lives, and then we have an opportunity to decide if we want that or not. Well, I'm just going to be 15 minutes late because they don't value me. Well, boy, you know, you start down that slippery slope. Well, I'm just going to take this because I don't have enough in my life. We're just going to start creating all kinds of havoc in my life. I'm just going to be snooty to my partner because they were snooty to me 3 weeks ago. If we do that and we don't have the wherewithal to say, wait a minute, I'm a powerful, creative, spiritual being. I'm going to manifest this multiplied abundantly, but I have choice. I have free will. I have awareness of who I am and what I am. I have the ability to think about what I'm thinking about and choose whether or not I'm going to let it come out of my mouth. I am in charge. If we do that, then we can shift what may be taking us down the slope. Or, if we like where we're going, we can support ourselves in that. Yes, I wanted to get up at 6 o'clock. I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to do my chief spiritual officer gratitude letter. I'm going to do this spiritual mind treatment stuff. I'm going to do my reading for class. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get up at 6, and I don't care if I'm tired and sleepy and cold and whatever. I'm going to get out of bed anyway. I'm going to support myself. I'm going to have my own back in creating the life that I want, because honest to God, if you don't create it on the inside, you will spend countless hours trying to fix it on the outside, and it will never work. So what do you want to do? You want to get up an hour early, or you want to get a second job? Get up an hour early. Clean it up inside of yourself, and then watch everything unfold. So the same way that whatever spirit is creates universe layers and all of life and time and space, we create that in our own lives, in our own world. Every person in our life, every dollar, everything that we do, everything that we feel is our creation. And we are at choice. And for me, that is the biggest thing in this teaching, because we are at choice. Once we learn that we can have a physical body that is completely healed of anything that anybody thinks is not healthy, once we learn that we can have more money than we know what to do with, once we learn that we can be living in love and joy and bliss, once we learn that our dreams can come true, then everything else is a matter of choice. What are we willing to do? We're not just going to sit back and say, well, I'm going to stay the way that I've always been and expect to have my life different. It's not going to happen. So once we've learned that, the next big thing that we get from this teaching is that it's up to you. It's up to me. It's up to all of us. And nobody can do it for us. Nobody can give it to us. But nobody can take it away from us. That's the great thing. Yes, nobody can do it for us, but I can. You can. Nobody can give it to me, but nobody can take it away from me. I can do it. I can have my life the way that I want it. If it's not showing up on the outside the way I want it, it's up to me to go, oh, whoa, look at that hidden belief made manifest. Because I didn't know I was thinking that. I didn't know I was believing that. But if that's going on the outside, it's got to be going on the inside, so I can turn within and I can shift that energy and shift that focus. And if that means I go back to for an affirmation. I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. Only good comes to me. Only good comes to me and I am blessed. Only good comes to me and I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. All that I see, all that I experience is spirit and form. My heart is open. If I do those kinds of things all day long to get myself back on track, and you know how it feels. It feels really good. It feels really good. I have to confess, I was really tired after our garage sale. My sister reminded me that often I have said, I will never have a garage sale, and I never did until a couple of days ago.
And John isn't gonna have one either.
Not anymore, thank God. But I was really tired, and then I had a wedding. Katie and Ben got married downtown Asheville Saturday afternoon in the really cold air. And I got back, and I was indulging in some stinking thinking, like, oh, poor me. I had to do a garage sale, and then I'm out in the cold, and it's cold, and I'm tired, and and I thought, Barbara, you are way too powerful to indulge in this for more than a couple of minutes. So I sat down, I just started doing some breathing and realizing how fantastic my life is, which it is, and it just takes that long. Did you feel that shift? And my life is fantastic. I have got the best life in the world. John has come home. How long have I been complaining about that? 5 years. 5 years. Oh, he's gone for 2 months. I don't even know what he looks like anymore. All of that stuff. Well, he's here. I have the best job in the world. I have the best career in the world because it helps me. I'm so delighted you guys come along. But really, this is about me keeping my head screwed on straight. I have plenty of money. I even have a wonderful dog. You know, I've got my son. I went to see my grandson go in his Boy Scout thing. I'm not sure exactly what happened. He was a Boy Scout for a year, and now he's a scout. So there's evidently the little steps that they go up. I've got that. My sister's in town. You know, she lives here, and all of that's great. I have a fantastic life. I'm 62 years old. I look great. I feel fantastic. You know, I'm wonderful. And all I had to do was go back to that to realize that that's what I want to live, because I am powerful enough, as are you, to create the outpicturing of that which we are complaining about. You know, so back to no complaining, back to I love you, I bless you, I forgive you, I release you, all of whatever it is I fabricated in my life to think anything's happening to me. When we are aware, when we are conscious of what we're doing, then we can take our choice and hopefully soup it up a little bit with some will and some decision and some energy to carry us through until we change just like that, until the alarm goes off and we jump out of bed, because we can't wait to have the day that half an hour or hour of spiritual practice is going to create for us. We can't wait to see what exciting blessings are happening, and who would want to just stay asleep when we can create our dreams coming true. So the important thing in that is this idea of choice and will. That you can have thoughts and beliefs that are happy, you can have them that are not so happy, but it's up to you how you bring them forth, how you actualize that potential in your life so that it's in your checkbook, it's in your body, it's in your relationships, it's in your house, it's in your job, and it's staring you in the face. Anything staring you in the face, you put there. And you put it there not on the outside, you put it there on the inside in your thoughts. Does everybody have that? That's one level. And then we have this thing called race consciousness.
He's referring to it as race suggestion. Same thing.
Race consciousness or race suggestion. So when we have the energy, the thought forms, the mental atmosphere of everyone on the planet, since when we go outside of the realm of physical form, we have left the realm of time. It would be not only everyone on the planet, everyone who's ever been on the planet, everyone who is ever going to be on the planet, and whatever other life forms are on the planet, past, present, and future, that we don't see. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on a positive level, and there's a lot going on a negative level, and it behooves us to pay attention to that. One of the things that I love about what Ernest says is that the race, and I include past, present, future, and any other beings that are hanging out with us, the race must be more positive than negative, or we would have all died before now. If the balance of consciousness was more negative, we would have all died off. But the very fact that we are still here and still evolving shows that there is more positivity than negativity, which is good to know. Because a lot of speakers, they'll just talk about the limbic brain and the fight or flight and the cave person and the saber-toothed tiger and how they always lived in fear, and so we get triggered off in that, and it's very instinctual and very reactive. But really, for us to be here, let's have a little bit of a different story. Maybe the cave people were having a good time. You know, they say that the most prosperous societies on the planet that have ever been were hunter-gatherers. So rather than seeing them as always fighting a saber-toothed tiger, maybe once in a lifetime, maybe that was the end of the lifetime. Maybe just once in a village they had a saber-toothed tiger or something like that. And that hunting-gathering tribes, you gather, you hunt, you have a lot of meat for a long time, and so you dry it, or you cook it, or you freeze it, and you gather, and you really have a lot of time between those experiences. So that those are the cultures that have the most time with their children, the most time telling stories, and hanging out. So maybe the sum total of all the consciousness up until now is not this bad thing that we have to worry about and fight. Maybe it is that which also uplifts us and that reminds us that everything's going to work out. It's worked out for billions of years. It's going to work out. It's going to be okay. So we have access to those different ideas and vibrations on a subjective, some would say unconscious. Ernest is very clear, the subjective mind is not unconscious. No matter how deep into it you go, there is still a level of consciousness. There was a movie that had that woman that plays in one of the NCIS things, the short one. She played a man in the Killing Fields and was just amazing. And she was in another movie as a nun talking about levels of consciousness, just as an aside in this movie. And it was like, oh, it's one of the most amazing things I've ever heard, to where even death is only another level of consciousness. And that it is not unconscious. None of it is unconscious. So that even when you lay the body down and you go into that level of consciousness called death, which we know that you're releasing the body and moving on, then these are all levels of consciousness. So Ernest was very clear that the subjective is not unconscious. And we have these inputs from the aspect of us that is not physical. So you know that your body is just this little tiny part of you, right? I used to think, yay, stick figures. Some people think that your spirit is in your heart. I guess your heart's down here. I had to check, where is it? Or some people think it's here, or when I was doing my ashram stuff, it was 18 inches above your head.
Some people
No.
believe it's the
Your
solar plexus.
Your spirit is like this, and you have the little teeny tiny thing. That. And then remember, this is the circle without any circumference. Rid of this. So really, your energy is huge, and you're dragging along this little body so you can stay focused in time and space. That's all that's going on. I often feel like I'm being dragged by a bigger part of me through my life. Like, hurry up, come on, we got things to do, places to go, people to see, we got experiences to have. So, when you have this input from the part of you that is non-physical, as Abraham would say, the not physical part of you, you can tune into energies of this is never going to happen, you're stuck, it's all going to go down the tubes, or you can tune into energies that uplift you. Everything always works out, everything's fine. The worst thing that can happen is you die, and that's going to be great. That's going to be great. Anybody who's had a near-death experience comes back and says, that was great. Pardon me?
Why am I back?
Exactly. A lot of people say, why am I back? So when you tune into these other energies, they can either lift you up or they can drag you down. And some people think, well, no, that's just the way life is. And I say, no, it's not. That is your choice on what to tune into and what to think about. And granted, people may have been raised in an environment where it was spoon-fed to them that money doesn't grow on trees, that you've got this genetic predisposition, and girls can only do this, and boys can only do this, and because of our blah, 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 this is all you're going to get. You could have been raised with that, but you're the one that took it. You're the one that kept it. Or, even if you weren't raised with wonderful, joy-filled love, you can still tune into that. That's the cool thing about meditation. Is you meditate and you tune into all of this love. I mean, a lot of people meditate and the love comes right out of their eyes and rolls down their face. So it is our choice as to what we're going to embrace, what we're going to tune into, how we are going to allow ourselves to plant our field in the fertile soil of mind so that we can harvest it as our experience. And if we don't like that, we can change it. One of the things I love about this, and I did a lot of Eastern stuff before I found Science of Mind, and I was 24 when I found Science of Mind. Not that it was lost.
You were lost.
At that time I was. But one of the things I love about this is the idea of karma. Says for a lot of people that if you do something, you're going to have to experience the effect of that cause. You're going to have to experience the karmic debt of that. And in Hindu traditions, it gets carried over into lifetimes, and you have a bad status in this lifetime because of something karmically you did in a previous lifetime, and you just need to deal with it because you're paying your dues. And I love what Ernest says. He says, karma is always in the eternal now. And so if you set something in motion, even if you've started to act it out and live it, you can always change it just like that. No matter what you have ever done, you can change it just like that. Wipe the slate clear. You do not have to pay any debt to anything or anyone if you change your cause. That's why forgiveness is so good. That's why doing your forgiveness work at night before you go to bed, give yourself a clean slate. Or, well, I really did that number on that person, and you know, this is my pound of flesh that I have to pay, or I can see a direct correlation between I took that from that person and now this is being taken from me. Well, you know, you can use this teaching to justify all of that suffering if you want, or you can change it just like that. When you set a new cause in motion, the only thing that can happen is that you have a new effect. So even if you did eat that gallon of ice cream, and you're going, oh no, I ate a gallon of ice cream, I feel terrible. No, 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 that's all in your head. Change it just like that. My body was born to digest ice cream. My body was born to metabolize white sugar and white flour and chemicals and preservatives. My body was created to do that, and I do it well, and I feel fantastic. Or you can feel terrible. It's totally up to you. And that's true for relationships. It's true for money. You know, if you had this belief system that said, well, I only had a certain amount of money and I spent it, so now I don't have any more, well, you can live that out, or you can shift your belief back into the idea that says, I live in an infinite universe. I'm created out of the abundance of God itself. Life is always pouring into me. Love is always pouring into me. Money is always pouring into me. Coming in infinite and varied ways in ever-increasing amounts. All of that stuff, and watch. how things show up. How many people were in the prosperity class? Wasn't that fun? Letting money show up in your life? And then sometimes class is over, so okay, now the money doesn't show up anymore. Well, that's all in our head. And if we have a belief that says there's limitation of any kind, we've made that up and we will act it out, and then we will look at it and go, oh, I knew that was true. I knew if I had a certain amount of money and I spent it, there wouldn't be any left. I mean, it sounds logical, doesn't it? But it doesn't have any spiritual basis to it. We live in an infinite, expanding universe. We are created out of that. And that is always moving through us the same way that life moves through us, that anything that we need shows up because it's coming from us out into our experience through this creative process. Jane.
Would you say that consciousness, therefore, is the same thing as awareness? Is there any difference between?
Yes, in that consciousness also includes this subjective mind, or this race suggestion, and awareness is more a conscious thought. You know, pay attention, be aware. What are you doing? What's going on?
Aware of the external world you're talking about?
I prefer you become more aware of your internal world. What you're thinking, what you're feeling. Why are you thinking that? What is that belief about? Is it real? Is it a real belief? Question yourself. Where did that thought come from? Where did that feeling come from? Have you ever been around someone and maybe your boundaries weren't that good and they were having a bad day and you felt bad? It's not your feeling. Give it back to them. It's not yours, but you don't know that it's not yours unless you question it. Gee, I came in feeling great. Now I feel crummy. What's going on? And there's this whole social moray that says if someone's sad around you, we're supposed to feel sad. Ernest calls that malpractice. If someone feels sad around me, I'm going to be happy. If they don't like it, I don't care. Because giving up my happiness for their sadness doesn't help them. And it certainly doesn't help me. All it does is take us all down. So be aware of what's going on inside of you, but your consciousness is so much bigger. You know, maybe you were in the womb and you picked up a belief. That doesn't have anything to do with your conscious awareness. You didn't even have language then. Maybe you were a baby and you picked up a belief. Who knows where you got these things, but you don't have to keep them because you have free choice. You have the ability to decide what it is you want to hold on to, and what it is you want to let go of, and what it is you want to go get. That's why coming to a place that lifts you up and inspires you is so important. Read stories about people that inspire you. I love all those chicken soup books. I mean, people say they're corny. I don't care. I cry. I feel better. I think that anything is possible because these people had miracles. I can have miracles too. If you need to go get something, go get it. Go find it. Go make it up. Journal it out. Make it up. Figure it out how you can believe that, and then take it and hold on to it and have your back during that process. When the resistance shows up, when the race suggestion shows up, well, you're just too big for your britches. Who do you think you are? Still, people come in here and they want to know if the pastor's in. Because I'm a woman. Couldn't possibly be in charge here. There must be a man here somewhere. Still, that happens. Construction experiences are amazing if you are of the feminine gender. It's just amazing. So there's a race belief that says women can't do that. Women can't be in charge. Women can't be president. All of that. Go, Michaela. And what is it that you may have been spoon-fed as a baby? That you can and cannot do, that you should and should not do. And does that serve you? I mean, maybe you had this great experience that said you can do anything. You can be anything. I used to whisper in my sleeping child's ear that he could do anything. That his life was fantastic. That all of his dreams come true. So what is it that you've come with? What is it that you've picked up just from the general life around us? And what is it that you want? And sometimes what you want, you have to go find. You have to go find it. You have to bring it in. You have to embrace it. You have to plant it. You have to nurture it. You have to bring it forth. I think that's why sometimes, I'm not saying it's true for everybody, but sometimes people will leave the center and then they'll come back a few years later and say, my life was going so great when I was here. And then I left and now it's a mess. So I want to come back and have it go great again. I think it's just because we hold your feet to the fire and say, pay attention, do your work. Don't be lazy. This is not a teaching for lazy people. This takes a lot of effort. But what you get for your effort is a great life. And if you don't have a great life, I have found people spend a lot of effort dealing with all of their problems and all of their lack and limitation and fear. It's going to take the effort, whatever you do, so you might as well be aware, be conscious, be captain of your ship, decide how you're going to do it, set your course, do whatever you need to do to hang on to that, and then watch it show up. Watch it show up in form. What is it that you want? You want to wake up in the morning dancing? Great. Great. Just because people say you've hit a certain age does not mean that you have to do that. Just because people say they saw something in your body doesn't mean it has to stay there 1 second longer. Just because your bank statement says you have a certain amount of money doesn't mean that that's going to stay that way. Everything down here changes. And that's the great thing, that we're always dealing with these time and space situations that are changing and changing and changing. And if we decide how we want them to change or what we want them to change into, that will happen. As long as we can hold that energy steady and hold it long enough for it to show up in time and space. And so people say, oh, well, that's just too long. No, it's not. You planning on dying tomorrow? What else are you going to do for the next month? Do you want it all to work out in a month? Then put the time and energy into it. Because once you get good at this, it happens faster and faster and faster and faster and faster to where you can just know and it shows up. Know and show. If you know, it will show.
It's better than no show.
Really? Thank you, Susan. Any questions before we take a break? Yes.
Because you talked specifically about it in the body. And I have a friend who's had a diagnosis. And I've been pondering this whole thing about treatments, whether they're allopathic or natural treatments, then causing a focus on the thing.
Oh,
And in
yes.
some cases it's an identity, I am a this or I have a this.
Right.
And yet, then the other part of me still struggles with, then what do? They don't even pay attention to any of it.
Turn entirely away from the condition.
And don't go to the doctor. I'm getting it right down to like daily life stuff.
I do not go to a doctor. I have a concern with going to a trained professional and saying, please find something wrong with me. Find something wrong with me. That's my personal ethic. There are a lot of people who go to doctors, and probably if there was some blood involved or a broken bone or some kind of pain, I would go to a doctor. But I think that is me channeling my Christian Science grandmother, and it is not a tenet of this philosophy. This philosophy says you can go to a doctor and have it proven. You know, don't be afraid of the x-ray. The x-ray will show that nothing's there, that there's only perfect health. But if I'm going to get all caught up in fear, oh my God, I'm going to the doctor and they're going to do this test and I'm so afraid that I'm going to have this show up, then I would prefer not to go to the doctor and work on my head. That's all. That's just Barbara personally. I'm not telling you not to go to a doctor. Being clear allows you to go to a doctor and say, please, is there anything wrong? And you know there's nothing wrong with you. And so they say, no, you are the picture of health. You are amazingly healthy. You know, your, what's it called, your physical age is like 25 years younger than your chronological age. I've never seen anyone as healthy as you. So that's just my experience. Who had their hand up? Susan.
I think I may have been reading ahead because the online reading is different. And there was a whole piece about healing, maybe that was.
Yeah, healing is for next week.
Well, I just finished reading it.
Yes.
And he said if you need to take a pill, take a pill.
If you
But
need to take a
don't
pill, take a pill.
focus
Yes.
on the condition.
Right.
Keep saying it over and over.
Right, right. And she was asking about someone else, a fictitious friend, who has some kind of diagnosis, and their fear and identity with that diagnosis. Then her question was, what do you do? Just not talk about it, not think about it? And my answer was yes. Yes, that's exactly what you do. And what I would recommend is, and you get a practitioner who is crystal clear as to your absolute health. And you don't have to do it all yourself. You don't have to completely embrace totally your physical healing when you feel like you're not healthy. Get somebody else to put their mojo in there. It all goes down in here so that your consciousness and my consciousness are intermingled, and you can know for me what I can't quite embrace yet for myself. That's why we have practitioners. And that manifests in my life, in my world. So what I would do is I would stop with the I am, because the only thing that should follow I am is spirit or God or divine or perfect or whole or complete or happy or healthy, and get someone else in to carry that consciousness piece while I work on myself. Maybe it could be easy. Maybe there is the possibility that this could heal. Maybe everything really would work out all right while someone else is holding that state of absolute vibrant health. That's why we have practitioners to do that. If we were supposed to do it by ourselves, then we wouldn't have each other, and I think there's 7.5 billion of us. So that's a lot. You know, let's take a break. Thank you for running the camera. We had someone at the center yesterday from Raleigh, not so far away, said that he's been watching John and me online for 4 years and has seen over 300 videos. So every time someone climbs up and turns a camera on or sets up a camera, you never know where that's going out. So do you have any questions about what we've talked about up until now? I don't want to keep, charging off with if there's questions. Was that a hand?
You heard me thinking.
No, I saw your hand go up.
I thought about raising my hand. Anyway, Sue and I were having this conversation on Sunday morning about race consciousness, and whether it's mine or the race. But in the end, would you say that it doesn't matter because the answer is still to tell the truth about it?
What do you mean to tell the truth about it?
So that when a thought comes up, whether it's mine or race consciousness, that says, you're just, you're broken, you'll always be broken. So the truth is, I'm wealthy, I have everything I need to tell it.
Right, so who cares where it came from if you're going to throw it out? Throw it out. If it says anything other, you are perfect, whole, complete, you are powerful and creative and amazing and wonderful. If there's any thought inside of you that is saying something less than that, throw it out. Throw it out. In that throwing out process, there might be some discussion about where it came from. If it's not going easily, if you throw it out and it comes back in, and you throw it out and it comes back in, sometimes you have to do some work on yourself to get it to stay out. And one of the things that I do is, where did that come from if it's going to help me to get rid of it? One of my mother's mantras to me when I was a child was, what's wrong with that child? because I was not like everybody else. What's wrong with that child? I can still hear her. The old lady you guys saw was a different, maybe a walk-in, I don't know, different person. I know, she was a sweet little old lady.
I expected her to be 6 feet tall.
She was this little tiny thing. So when I internalize that and tell myself there's something wrong with me, something inherently wrong with me, that I don't fit in, I don't think like other people, I don't act like other people, I'm not like other people, and if I turn that against myself, it's helpful to me to say, well, that's what you heard when you were growing up, when you wanted to be the wild child. You know, when you threw your shoes out the car window and all of that stuff that you did, that's what you got. But when I think about it, I don't want to fit in to the world's mediocrity. I don't want to fit in. So when that voice comes at me, there's something wrong with you, then I can say, no, 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 no. That's that old pattern, that's that old belief, and I am not having it, I'm not taking it, I'm going to throw this out, and it's going to stay out because I'm not opening the door to let it back in. So in those circumstances, it may be helpful to do a little self-analysis on yourself if it's helpful to get rid of those old ideas that say, I could, I can't, I shouldn't, I mustn't, those kinds of things. And then to move into this idea that says, I love my moxie, I love my specialness, I love not being like other people. I don't want to be like other people. Other people are, for the most part, miserable. And I don't want to be like them. And I am willing to pay the price of not being like them and being different. I'm willing to pay that price. And then I get myself all back on the path, all feeling good and happy again, and then that sets the law in motion. But if I hang out with, I'm broken, I'm never going to be fixed, I'll never have enough, there's something wrong with me, and I just go, oh, turn entirely away from the condition, well, everything is just fine, I'm light and love, and I don't change the way I feel, or I haven't really changed the way I think, then that's not what he means by turn away from the condition. When Ernest is talking about turning away from the condition, he expects you to focus on something else and to focus on it all day, all night, for months at a time if you have to get yourself to change inside. This isn't just a cover it up, sweep it under the rug, BS kind of a philosophy. It is taking yourself on, having the will to carry through with your thought process to get you back on track where you want to be, to have the life you want to live. And sometimes it's just not that easy. I mean, have you ever been dumped? Have you ever been fired? Have you ever been left? That's an opportunity to have a lot of feelings come up. And people say, well, I just feel this way. No, you can change your feelings. And I'll grant you, you can feel that way for a little while, but if you just keep feeling that way, you're just going to create more of that. So that gives us an opportunity to look within and either say, I'm totally loved and supported by the universe. There is only love. And if that works, great. And if it doesn't, you may need to take yourself on. Ernest talks about two kinds of treatment. A realization and an argumentative. I've used the argumentative form of treatment a lot. And what that does is that if I can't go to God is, and I am, and so it is. If I can't go there, I need to get myself there. And sometimes I need to take myself on and say, well, that's a crock. Of course there's more than enough. You're just in a cash flow situation. It always works out. It is always going to work out. And if you set your sights high, you're going to get there. But if you stay down here, you're going to always be there. So get yourself up in consciousness, focus on what you want, and let's move. No, this is never going to be fine. I'm broken. I'm wrong. No, that's an old story. You have spent thousands of dollars in therapy to let go of that old belief. You have spent decades in metaphysics training yourself how to think. You do not have to stay there a moment longer. You can choose to think a new thought. You can set a new course. You can create your life. You're Barbara Waterhouse. You're fantastic. You've done it before. You're going to do it again. This is just a momentary synaptic firing that has old stuff to it. You do not need to stay here. You are supported by the entire universe. You have angels and guides that are dedicated just to you. You are loved and blessed over and over again, and I do that, and I do that, and I do that. Sometimes I do it out loud. People come up to me and say, how are you? I'm working on my head. I'm working on my head. I'm working on my head because I am not going to stay here. I will shift this, and I will stay with myself until I do. That's called an argumentative treatment. And by the time you're done, if you've done it well, God is. I am. And so it is. And that's when you're done. Jill.
I'm remembering in spiritual mind treatment, instead of just the 5 steps, I was taught at some point a middle step where you argue against like limitations, and you say something like, there is no truth to the idea or the belief.
Right,
that
those are called denials.
that's
Denials, like when Ernest says, disease is neither person, place, nor thing. I love that. Disease is neither person, place, nor thing in my life. It has no substance. Poverty has no place in my life. And then you move into that positive affirmation. And what you do is you do anything you can to get yourself to, God is. I am. And so it is. And however that sounds, whatever words you use for that, that's the feeling. Whatever you can do to get yourself out of that old limited thinking that pops up at the darndest times, usually when you're stressed, usually when you're being challenged, and get yourself back on track, that's what you do. And stay with it until it shifts. Turn away from the condition does not mean sweep it under the rug, pretend that it's not there when it's right in your face. It means shifting the cause, shifting the energy. And if you need to get a practitioner, get a practitioner. Practitioners are great. You go see your practitioner and they're all, God is. You are. And so it is. And you get that. You just get swept up in that. And then you're good. And maybe it lasts for a month or a week or a day or whatever. And when it's gone, call them back up again. And before you know it, you've made that shift with them, and they've actually helped you lift up into that different state of consciousness. But if you just feel like, well, there are these things that come up, and I'm not going to tell anybody because I'm a spiritual being. And so I'm not going to acknowledge that I have this constant negative barrage inside of me of this critical being that just I'm never going to be good enough for. I'm just going to pretend like it's not happening, and then I'm not going to do anything about it. Nothing's going to change. Not only do we not let it out of our mouth, we change the cause. We change the cause, and then we change the belief. Some of these beliefs you've had for decades. You have manifested them so thoroughly that anybody in their right mind would believe that's the way life is. How many people have I worked with? Let's just use generic stereotypes. Women who believe all men will hurt them. So, every man they connect with hurts them. Could have been a perfectly nice guy, but they make that guy hurt them. Or men, all women, I'm never good enough. And so every person they attract or connect with, they're never good enough. They're always being criticized. They always come up short. Now, anybody in their right mind would say, well, that's the way the world is. No, it isn't. We did that. And so if we've got that deep-seated belief that we've manifested over and over again, and you come to this class and I just say, well, think a different thought. It's not that easy. Sometimes you've got to get in your own face. Sometimes you have to be honest in that I made them do that. I found that with my first husband. I was shocked when I saw him with his second wife. He wasn't like that with me. She did that. She brought the good out of him. I brought the bad out of him. Because I was still busy having a relationship with my father. And so, of course, that's the way he had to be with me. But when he got with someone else, he could be a different way. I did that. When I realized that I bring that out of people, then I'm not so caught up in it. Well, all of these people are terrible. No, they're not. Anytime you use the word all, you know you've got something going on. All politicians, all men, all women, all dogs, whatever. Anytime you have the word all, you know, you know that you have
Ambiguous mindset.
an ambiguous mindset. Actually, it's not ambiguous, it's pretty clear. You have a belief system that is manifesting in your life and orchestrating the situation so perfectly that it looks flawless. It looks flawless. If you have a belief that there's not enough time, you'll hit every red light. It's amazing to me how powerful we are. And yet if we can shift that into a belief that we're always loved, we're always supported, life is great, then we will orchestrate that equally flawlessly. But if we have trouble, be honest with yourself and say, I'm having trouble going to that God is, I am, and all is well. So what do we need to do? Do we need to journal? Do we need to do some forgiveness work? Do we need to forgive ourselves for whatever it is we're feeling guilty about and feeling like it's appropriate to beat ourselves up? That's all a crock. We're God informed. We're love. Love to love to love to love. That's all that's going on. So what do we need to do? How do we need to work with ourselves to shift that energy so that what's going on up here plants the seeds of what we want to have down here? Jane.
One thing is to recognize you're doing something.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Awareness is the first step. That's why on the 5 points of power, the very first one is, I always pay attention. Pay attention. What happened here? Everything was going great. How did this happen? Now it's all gone to pot. What's going on? Let's back up here a little bit. Let me see. Yesterday, I was starting to go downhill. The day before, I got a call from an old friend who was rubbing my face and how well they're doing and how terrible I'm doing. And I bought into that. I'm not doing terrible. I'm doing great. I've set my life up exactly the way that I wanted so that I can build on this and grow in the direction that I want to grow. They may be doing well financially and on the outer, but I know for a fact they're doing terrible in their heart and their head. You know, get yourself out of there. I'm doing fine. I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I've got a lifestyle that supports me so that I can work on my head and manifest my dreams. And if it doesn't look that way right now, I'm not going to put myself down for it. I'm going to know that life totally supports me and I lift it up. And if you do that, you'll get back. You'll plant the seeds of the dreams that you want to live. And the only thing that life can do is bring them into form. That's what's so great about this part. In the book, it's a little complicated because it says it only reasons deductively. What? It can only say yes. How about that? The law can only say yes. You want to be happy. What is the phrase? Your wish is my command. I want to be miserable. Your wish is my command. I just got out of this neurotic, codependent, destructive relationship, and I want another neurotic, codependent, destructive relationship. I met this person. It was chemistry. I tell you, our eyes met across the room. I think this is my soulmate. Your wish is my command. Or you can work on your head. I think in 12-step programs, they tell you after you get sober, don't date anybody for a year. Why? Because you're not ready. Your head is not screwed on straight. You work on yourself. Know that you're a wonderful person, that you deserve to be loved and supported, that everybody in your life has given you a gift. Nobody has ever hurt you. Nobody can ever take anything away from you. You do your forgiveness work. You forgive yourself. And then when your eyes meet across the crowded room, you've got healthy connecting with healthy. But this part, it'll go either way. It can't say, we've done that 3 times and you know how it ends up. If it's not pretty, it can't say, why don't you stop and think about this before you get behind the wheel of the car. It can't say that. All it says is, whatever you want, I will manifest for you. It is up to us to pay attention, to choose, and then to support ourselves in setting that law in motion in the direction that we want to go. And if you've got old beliefs that say, well, you can only go so far, that's not possible. You can't change the world. That's not possible. Or you shouldn't do that. You know someone will find you out. If you've got those kinds of beliefs, whatever they are, you don't deserve it, you shouldn't have it, it'll never work, then it's your job to challenge those and do whatever it is you need to do to get your head into the place that says, I am God-informed, it is my spiritual job to be happy, to be wealthy, to be healthy, to be successful in this life. That is my job. Can you imagine whatever God is saying, colorful sunrises are impossible. I really shouldn't. Papa God told me I played too much with color, and I really need to just rein it in a little bit. So I think for the next millennium we'll have gray sunrises. It's ridiculous. There's an outer expansion, a growth of love and joy, of prosperity, health, and wholeness, and it is our job to manifest that. Your job in life, it is not to suffer or struggle. Remember last week we talked about God and the devil and evil and sin and punishment and all that stuff. It is our job to make manifest the glory of God. That's what Marianne Williamson said. That's what Nelson Mandela quoted in his inaugural address. It is our job to be all that we can be. I mean, that's what the Army said. It is our job to go for it. That's what we're supposed to do. And if there's anything in your head that says you shouldn't, you gotta take it on and say, what's up with that? I will no longer allow myself to be ruled by thoughts that want me to suffer, to struggle, and to be small. So if I will no longer allow myself to do that, what am I willing to do to not do that? Am I willing to do 1,000 affirmations a day? Am I willing to do forgiveness work? Am I willing to bless and praise everybody and everything? Am I willing to look at my part in the story of my life? Oh, they did me wrong. Well, what did you do? I did nothing. I was a victim. No, you weren't. You were a full participant. No victims, only volunteers. What did you do? Well, I took a perfectly nice person and beat them into the ground until the only thing they could do for their survival was to leave me. Ah, okay. That's what you did. Now are you ready to let that go? You ready to forgive yourself for that? Are you ready to forgive them for that and move on? What are you willing to do to not allow those old thoughts to control you, to manipulate you, to decide what you get and what you don't get? It's all up to you. Nobody can do it for you. Nobody can stop you from doing it for yourself. No questions? This is important stuff. No questions? Is it just a lot?
Memory, as you talk, it's memory.
Very long.
Mine wasn't so much a question as it is observation. Earlier you talked about belief systems, and we have these belief systems that don't serve us. But sometimes we have these belief systems where we go out and look at it, oh, there's one over there that supports it, and they keep carrying that belief, thinking that's the way it is because I just saw that. And
Sure, we can create it, and then we see it, and then we use it to validate what we thought.
Right, we create our own demonstration.
Absolutely, we are self-fulfilling prophecies. We are walking self-fulfilling prophecies, and then we look at that and reinforce the belief system because we can see it, not realizing that everything is changing, always changing. Time and space is blinking in and out. You know, is it a wave, is it a particle, is it a wave, is it a particle, it's light, it's form, it's light, it's form. And all we get to do is pick how it shows back up in form. That's all. People can make themselves sick, they can make themselves well, they can make themselves poor, they can make themselves rich, they can make themselves miserable, they can make themselves joyous. It's all inside of us, it's all up to us. And the great thing about the way this law works, and I will say it again and again and again and again, it can't stop you. It can't save you, but it can't stop you. So there are a lot of people waiting for something outside of them to intervene in their life on their behalf between themselves and their experience, and there's no way that can happen. We are cause to our effects. We are cause to the conditions in our lives. The only thing life can do is take what we give to it, multiply it, and bring it back into our life. And when we get that, then we're at a point of choice. Remember, choice is in the top. We're at a point of choice. What are we going to do? Are we going to keep planting the seeds of misery and struggle? Or are we going to stop, be aware, do whatever work we need to do to plant something new? Because the soil is going to make it grow. The spiritual law will bring it into form. And so what I encourage you to do is to go for it. You know, can you imagine the farmer out there with the giant tractors and, okay, they're going to plant one seed. They have 1,000 acres. They're going to plant one seed. And that's it, okay, they're done. Go for it. If they said it was impossible, remember the impossible has to be possible. Go for it. If you want 1, go for 2, go for 10. If you want to just not be in pain, go for joy. Oh, I want to not have my hip hurt so much. Go for dancing. Well, I just want to be able to, you know, put more than $5 worth of gas in my car. Go for being a millionaire. I couldn't do that. Why not? Good question. Why not? Why can't you be overflowingly joy-filled? Why can't you love everybody? Why can't you awaken in the morning and see the colors so bright, be filled with energy, have your body bounce out of bed? Why can't you? Oh, well, I'm 35. Those days are gone.
I'm in trouble.
One of my heroes is Betty White.
Yes.
Betty White. You know, she's not going to let a day go by that she doesn't live.
That's right.
And Betty White. And because of that, she keeps living.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it. What self-imposed limitations have you put on yourself? And they're put on by you. You may have picked them up from your childhood, from school, from the past, from race consciousness. Somebody on the other side of the planet may have shot a thought form over and you grabbed it and took it. You may have picked it up, but you took it. What have you put on yourself? And do you like that? Do you want that? Do you want to keep it? Because if you don't, you are at choice. And whatever you need to do to shift that is your work. I don't care how deeply entrenched the belief system is, it's just a belief system. And when you let those, thank you for the word, dendrils, think a different thought long enough, affirmations over and over again, coming to the center, doing spiritual practice, reading books, listening to some of the things that Barbara and John say, they will pull apart, and then you can direct them to grow to a new thing that says anything is possible. anything is possible. I was created to live life and live it abundantly. I am born in joy and I will have a happy day. If it is the last thing I do, I am going to have a happy day. And I'm going to have the best day ever. And yes, I have the audacity to have every day be the best day ever. People got mad at us when we started that. You can't have every day be the best day ever. I know why. In your life, do you only get one? Do you only get one best? Because I get every day. I get every day. We had people mad at us. So it's totally up to you. Are you willing to bust out of the mold of being the good girl, the good boy? I'm just going to play it safe. I don't want to make any waves. Yuck. Make some waves. Make some waves. Change the world. I love that Apple thing. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the square pegs and the round holes, the ones who can think they can change, I'm really shrinking it, the ones who can think they can change the world because they do. You know, so be crazy, be out of it, be different, go up against that internal limitation that you placed on yourself, and it may bring some things up, and great. Throw them out with the trash. Yes, Shari.
Yes. where does, I don't know how to say this, when I am manifesting what I want, what happens when someone else is manifesting what they want, and we're colliding?
You live in completely different universes.
So what if I want Tom Brady, but he wants Angelina Jolie?
You don't want Tom Brady.
God, no.
You want somebody
Yes,
that
says
will
the
bring
Lord,
to your
amen.
life what you think Tom Brady will.
Okay.
You want to be in the arms of your beloved. You want passion. You want energy. You want someone who's healthy and good looking and exciting. You want that. If Tom Brady was a jerk, you wouldn't want him.
Okay. So it's not that you want specifics, you want, I guess, a generality, the divine or the
Think about what you
spiritual.
would feel like with Tom Brady. That's what you want. You want that feeling. You don't care what face is on there. You don't care what name is on there. You want that feeling. That's what you go for. Dan wants Peyton We never get the person anyway. You know, we never get the person anyway. We always get what we put on the person. It's our projection on them. So if you're going to project onto somebody, you might as well project what you want. I have the world's best husband. I have somebody that fills my heart. We both have the best day ever. We both have the best husbands ever. We don't live in a limited universe. So when I project onto John, I don't look at the outer things that he is or is not doing. I put on him everything that I want. I put on him the joy and laughter and clarity and being able to think. We think alike, you know? We can say part of a sentence and we got it. We can look at something and there's total communication happening there. So that's what I get from being in relationship to John, and I know for a fact that other people have been in relationship with John and they haven't gotten that at all.
No.
You know, there are people in the center who don't get that. But that's them, not him. There are people who don't think I'm amazing. They think I'm egotistical and pompous and have a big mouth and I'm controlling. That's them, that's not me. I'm freaking amazing. So we don't get that person anyway. Be aware of what you want and then give that out. Start looking at all the men in the world and go, Joe, you're just amazing. David, you're fantastic. Drew, wow, you're so cool. Then you put that out there and then that's what you're attracting into your experience. Jane.
When I was a kid, I was a very good writer, and I loved writing. And then one day, it all disappeared. All my writing, all my poems, all my stories. And since then, I just have never written.
I thought you picked up writing again.
Oh, yeah, I must have made it disappear, but I don't know how that happened, and
So just start writing again, Jane.
so angry.
It's still in there. Stop being angry, pick up a pen and start to write. It's in
Find
there.
the joy in writing.
Yeah, it's in there.
Well, I have a lot of joy
What?
without writing.
Good. Well, you compare that with 5 years ago, and you, sitting in this class 5 years ago, would never have believed that that phrase would have come out of your mouth. I have a lot of joy without writing. Just, I have a lot of joy. That's a testament to the power of these classes.
But, yeah, I just,
Everything is in you. All you have to do is let it out. Everything is in you. All you have to do is let it out. And the way that I let it out is I see it all around me. I see it all around me. Every day I treat for you that you are prosperous, you are healthy, you are thriving. I treat for you. People say, well, how do you have the finances of your center be so good? You have your people be good. You don't worry about the balance sheet. You focus on the people. As you thrive, our center thrives. So it's my job to see you every day as thriving. And then those of you on my treatment list get extra mojo. Just more love and more clarity and all of that. But every day we're always knowing every part of the center is thriving, it's healthy, it's getting better and better. There's happiness and joy, that we are doing great. And that is just a given. Every day, every day, every day. And then I get that. My life is going great. I am thriving. I am prosperous. I am healthy. I am happy because I see it all around me. It's in me, and the way I let it out is to see it to you, to give it to you. And in that giving to you, I get it. It's not that you give it back to me. It's not tit for tat. I get it in the giving. I get it in the giving. Yes?
So, if you want to experience joy, do you say, I see joy in you and you and you and you and you and that?
Sure, or just feel joy. I'm so happy. One of my mantras, I'm so happy and grateful. Now that, just pick something. Now that the sun is up, now that the breeze is cool, now that the sun has come out and warmed everything up a little bit. I'm just so happy and grateful to see you, Morgan. You look so great. It's so wonderful to be with you. I'm so happy and grateful. I get joy. And one of my techniques is by giving it out, but I don't have to give it out. I can simply look in the mirror and see myself and see how wonderful and prosperous and healthy and thriving and successful I am. I just like to do it with you. It feels bigger and it feels happier to give it to you. But I can do it with myself. Yeah, just what you're doing is you're just opening up a way to let it come out. Now a lot of people think they've got to bring it in, they've got to attract it, they've got to manifest it. No, you've already got it. You've already got it. What you're doing is letting it out. And I think that a lot of people are afraid of being that happy, of being that joy-filled, of being that loving and loved, of being, just having everything going that great. Drew? Right. Right, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Yes, it's our light. It's that we are something beyond measure. He's quoting Marianne Williamson, powerful beyond measure. Marianne Williamson. Robert.
What is the fine line there between internal and external?
There is none.
Well, if I want to create an automobile,
Uh-huh.
if I sit at home and meditate down with the driveway.
You can do that if you're that clear.
Yeah.
I find it helpful to go sit in automobiles, drive automobiles.
That's the external life. You're out there in the outer world.
Right, but there is no difference. I'm doing that so that I get a clearer mental equivalent of that automobile and me in it.
But how it makes you feel when you're in it.
Right, but you can sit on your couch. If you're that clear, you can sit there and you can have things manifest. I had a student many, many years ago, I think it was in Practitioner 1 class, and she wanted to be in a relationship with someone, and she didn't have a lot of time. She had kids and all of that, and so she did. She sat in her couch and treated that she had a relationship. And the guy next door came over one day and knocked on her door and said something about the yards or something, and they ended up getting married. So if you're that clear, you can bring something into your experience without, you know, the phrase is treat and move your feet, but you don't have to move your feet. The only reason you move your feet is so that you're clearer inside of yourself. So you know how it smells, how it sounds, what it looks like, what your choices are. Well, there's this one here, and there's that one there, and which one do I want? And the whole time you're moving more and more into a reality that you've got that new car, if that's what you're talking about. So you're doing on the outside only to clarify on the inside. It always comes from the inside. But if you're crystal clear, you can have it show up just like that.
Yeah, I did that. I had a car and I knew the color. That's all I knew about the car. And then a friend of mine offered to go take me car shopping because I'm no fit. And I had the same car for 15 years and it was falling apart. Axles were breaking.
Shorten the story, Jane.
So that's the end of the story, is that we went to one Berkeley and cooked, and they didn't have any. And then we went to one more.
And there was your car.
There was my car.
Great.
So weird color, and there it was. That was just.
It is. It's a beautiful color. Yes, yes. Edwin Gaines tells a story about a guy who wanted a piano. And he didn't have a piano, didn't know where a piano was going to come from, but he laid out this cloth, he made room in his living room where a piano would fit, laid out a cloth, had music books and a candle and things that he would put on his piano, and he would sit there and he would imagine himself playing his piano. His aunt called him and said she was moving and she had a piano and she didn't have any room for it, and she knew that he used to play. Did he want the piano? So he did nothing on the outside. And then she had the movers deliver the piano. He just sat there and did all of his work within, and it showed up. If that's not working, do something. You know, go look at pianos. Go do something else. Whatever it takes for you to get your head wrapped around the idea that I have what I want. And I love that whole idea of what if? What if this really could happen? What if it wasn't impossible? What if it could be easy? What if there was an answer? What if there was a solution? What if I really could? Because that shifts your thinking. Get you out of that block, no way, it's never going to happen, to, well, what if? What if maybe it could possibly happen somehow, some way? All of a sudden you have a crack. And when you're in darkness and you crack it, and the light comes in, it just takes a little crack. It doesn't take a whole lot to change everything. And once you have a crack, it's like having your foot in the door. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So yes, there is the outer and the inner, but they're really exactly the same thing. Any other questions before we close? Hello, Joe.
Hello.
How are you? How are you?
Maybe you already covered this, but I'm a little confused as to the argumentative and the realization. I know that you said you use the argumentative a lot, but I'm not clear about what the other one is.
That's because this class and you have not been taught treatment, but the realization form of treatment with whatever words feels like God is, I am, and so is. It feels like that. There's only one energy, one presence of spirit. That is what I am, and everything is fine. Everything is already worked out. I'm already healed. I'm already whole. Everything is in place. I'm already loved and supported. Whatever I need is here. It's not specific. It's not challenging. And you just go there.
So one is more distinct and the other one is more verbal?
Well, one is more like that. Oh, no, you don't. I'm not going to be ruled by you anymore. Oh, no, you better not. That's impossible and is going to get you in trouble, that kind of thing. And the other one is just embracing the idea that says, it's all one. I am precious and loved. I am light, and everything is fine. That's where you go in treatment. And you use different steps and different words and things, but that's where you're trying to get to. So if you can just go there, it's like, I am so happy and loved and blessed. You don't need Tom Brady. You're happy and loved and blessed. And then whatever is in alignment with that's going to show up in your life. Because it always starts from within and shows up on the without. Does that make sense? Good. This is only your second class. That's a good question. Yeah. David, and then we can close.
I use the argumentative treatment when I want to logically prove that I can have, like the reflection law will bring me this. And I use that as sort of a logical conclusion to what I want.
Right.
Where the realization is one I do without writing it down.
Well, I recommend the realization treatment first. And if you can't get there, start analyzing what your blocks are. But if you can go there, just go there. God, can you imagine if you just lived there? That's wonderful.
It irritates some people though. It irritates
That's
some
their
people.
irritation.
I know, but it's just
Yes.
like,
Right,
oh, I get it.
right. Take out what you're gonna give. Thank you for your support of this center. Thank you for knowing that as you give, you receive. That spiritual law takes that gift, multiplies it, and gives it back to you. Thank you for standing clear in your faith that you are abundant and you are blessed. Thank you for being willing to prosper, to be willing to grow, to be willing to thrive, to be willing to have your life get better and better and better. Thank you for your willingness to tolerate more and more joy and love in your life. It's a good thing. And so I know that whatever it is that is being given is blessed right here and right now. I know that as we give, we receive, and the entire universe comes together in concert and harmony to bless us back. I know that this money, whatever it is, goes, yes, into the center's bank account to pay the bills, but there is an energy, there is a love and a joy that touches everybody, whether it's bankers or whether it's people who are selling things or wherever it goes. It takes that bit of love and joy and clarity with it to make the world a better place. I know that each one of us comes together this night to make this center all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is. So it is. If you're going to talk about how rich you are. Talk about how there's money flying through the air. Talk about how much God loves to give to you. How your big God is bigger than any of your problems. How there's always more than enough. Talk about how the entire universe comes together in concert and harmony to lift you high above anything that may want you small. That you stand clear and tall in this life as a being of light and a being of love, here to make manifest the glory of God, that your power is mighty and your consciousness clear. Your heart is open and all is well. All is well. We are abundant beings living in an abundant universe. And I claim that abundance for each of us now. I know that everything in these baskets is blessed. That each of us is blessed in our giving. That life loves to give back to us. That energy that we are comes forth with our gift. I see it like a golden light pouring forth from each of us, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us. It touches each and every one of us. It blesses us. It heals us. It goes on out around the world to touch and bless and heal every being on this planet, and then it shoots out into the heavens, carrying that energy, always here and always now. And so it is. So it is. I love you guys. Come on Sunday.